Tactics are a mysterious part of Football Manager because SI, the company that makes the game, they don't release details about what exactly is effective. You can't see behind the veil. And so there's always this element of mystery, and one of the best people at seeing through that element of mystery and coming up with great tactics is RDF Tactics. And that's who we have today to give you tips on the 5 things you should avoid in every tactic ever. Was that a good enough intro, RDF? Do you feel like I...
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. I just got a cup of tea.
Oh, good. Yeah, no, I can stand on my soapbox more if you want me to. That'd be...
No, that's fine. That's perfect. I'm happy with that.
Hurry up. Got it. Let's go. Run the sting. So what we've done is we have put together a list of 5. We actually just sat down and did this. We put together a list of 5 things that you should never do in a tactic, which we thought it was going to be easy. It was actually kind of hard to think of this list.
It was.
Spoken like a true tactics man. Okay, number 1. What? I'm trying to remember where we are. Right. Check out RDF Tactics. Got some great videos. And you know that video I did about Pep Guardiola? We basically met over that, and he does a lot of great videos about different managers, how to replicate them in Football Manager. Did a really good job, and that's why I wanted to bring you here to scold everybody about the stupid things that they're doing. And the first one was when we sat down to make this list. Both of us said this within 5 seconds, I think.
Yeah, sure.
Yes. Number 1, don't go below standard back line. What do we mean by this?
Yeah, never go below standard defensive line. You're just inviting way too much pressure. Way too much pressure.
But we wish you could go below the standard back line. But this is one of the main things on Save Your Saves that I run into is people get scared and they assume that going further back is going to save them. It's going to increase their defensive ability. But at a certain point, which that point is between standard and low, you lose the ability to apply pressure defensively. That's right.
Yeah, any sort of pressure. Yeah, like in theory it should work, but just on Football Manager, your defenders have no idea what to do when your defensive line is lower. You're inviting way too much pressure, way too much.
And I think another reason that it doesn't work is the crossing, especially in FM22.
Yeah, it's very
crossing
effective,
it's a lethal weapon, and so when you drop back, you're inviting more crosses. It's like if you invite enough crosses, you're gonna give up a goal.
Yeah, and a lot of people use narrow defensive width as well. So if you're using that plus dropping your defensive line, I mean, you're asking to concede goals.
So you heard it here first. You must be at least a standard. Not here. Don't do that. Right here. That's where you want to be. That is.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, or up here, and then you turn this into a 4-2-3-1, and you turn this up and get 4-2-3-1 gegenpress. It's the only tactic that you should ever play. Yeah, you agree?
Yeah, 100%.
All right, what is RDF? What is number 2? That's number 1. What do we have for number 2? The number 2 thing never have in a tactic.
Second thing, don't leave. What is it? Yeah, there we go. There we go. Don't leave stuck in all the time. Never. What do you think about that, Z?
Well, I think that can we review the tape? I might have gotten a little mad at this instruction in the network save, and that if you get a few extra red cards. Attaboy, that's fine. Yellow. That's my 3rd red in 4 games. Pick one. They're either great at set pieces or we don't have people get sent off.
Way too much, especially your wingbacks or your fullbacks as well. They put in a lot of tackles during the 90 minutes. If they're getting stuck in, they're just going to be counting up those cards. So if you are using tackle harder, make sure you got the right time to take it off. Keep an eye out when you're using it.
And I've got a question for you. I was dealing with this today. So I play with a ball. This is my Twitch save, which you can check out at the link in the description if you want to. But the ball winner here, he's got tackle harder on. And then if you have get stuck in, you have more tackle harder on. What is your theory on this? Do you think they compound to where he's just a nuclear option when it comes to tackling hard? Or
I've been I don't know. I have trouble with this all the time. I don't know. I don't think it does add. I don't think it can't.
It can't, right?
Yeah, it can't.
This should comfort you as two people that play this game obsessively and are breaking down tactics at this level. We don't know, and there's no way to isolate in a test without somebody from SI telling us if they double up or not.
Yeah, but I don't think they do. Now you're making me want to test it. Now you're making me want to test it.
I know, but
I don't know how we can. I don't know how we can.
Exactly. I don't know if there's a way to, you just like create a midfield with 3 ball winners or something and just...
But especially against good teams or teams that dribble a lot with the ball, you definitely don't want to use tackle harder.
And why is that?
Well, you can get beaten a lot of the time. So if you're tackling hard against, I don't know, let's say Messi or Adama Traore, if you're trying to get stuck in, all they've got to do is knock the ball past you. They've got the pace, they've got the balance, they've got the flair to do it. You can be losing out on a lot of tackles as well. So getting stuck in, but your players going to ground too easily or too quickly, you can run into a lot of trouble. So not only can you be picking up cards, you could be letting your defense down.
So if you're playing against a team that is very good at dribbling, has a lot of pace, then get stuck in is not a choice you want to go for.
Yeah, you'd be giving away penalties, free kicks all day.
Not to mention leaving it on all the time lends itself to way too many cards in FM22 and just getting people sent off left, right, and center. But it also, tactically speaking, while it might have its place for a match or two, shouldn't happen against teams like that.
And the busy period as well. So a lot of people manage, I don't know, in England where there's a lot of games in January. Your players are knackered. You don't really want to keep that intensity in your tactic as well. So you definitely don't want to get stuck in throughout the whole season or throughout the whole 90 minutes. Pick your moments.
And then strike. Like a cobra. sounded good. Number 3, and this is one that I found very entertaining while we were putting this list together.
Yes.
Don't hold your shape, because the way that our brains seem to work is the moment that I said don't hold your shape, does that sound like something we should put on this list? Both of us tried to come up with situations where you would actually want to hold your shape, and we came up with 1 or 2, but by and large, in the game, you want to stay on the counter because that is when your opposition is going to be out of position, and that is when you are going to be able to get your attackers in space, basically for the same reason that they are way up the field and you've got the self on the ball and you're looking to counter. Now, hold shape does make sense in very few situations that you, if you're watching this video, likely won't find yourself in. But just for the sake of arguments, as we debated this, what are those situations? Because counter's the obvious choice that I've always recommended until the end of time. But hold shape can work.
Let's say you're going for a crazy tactic, I don't know, something total football where you've got 3 defenders, 1 holding midfielder, then everybody else is just attacking, roaming from their positions. So once the possession has been won, once we do get the ball, you don't really want to be countering because that can just leave you way too exposed. If you do lose the ball, then there's going to be massive gaps. But if you've got a lot of attacking players and you win the ball, I think you can afford to hold shape.
Is it fair to say that you should probably definitely be the better team ability-wise to do hold shape?
I mean, if I'm Burnley and I'm playing against Manchester City, there's no way. We don't even have the technical ability. We don't have the technical ability to be holding our shape, to keep possession of the ball well as well. We want to be exposing the team. But that's just general. I think that's generally speaking in Football Manager. When you're creating tactics, you're looking to expose the other team, look to find gaps and expose. When you do win the ball, you don't want to just hold your shape because then your attack just becomes lackluster.
And everybody loves a nice counter. It seems to be the only thing that teams try and do in real life anymore anyways.
Yeah,
okay, number 4. On that note, on the countering note, we're thinking about, well, you should try and counter yourself. But this is one that you brought up and is really the only one on this list that came entirely from one of us. The other 4 we kind of collaborated on, but this one was something you said early on that I found interesting. Number 4, don't forget the counterattack. And I'll say, one, this would feel obvious on the surface, but how do you do this in every one of your tactics?
When I'm creating tactics, in your little tactics screen, you've got 3 different slots. So a lot of the times what I actually do, the main slot is where I'm building my tactic. The second slot is where I'm actually making player movements. So let's say I've got a Mazzala in central midfield. I'll go to my second slot and then I'll move him to where he would be during motion or during the game. And then once I move all my players in there in possession where they should be, then I'll be looking where the gaps are and what can be exposed. So that's mainly how I look for counter-attacking or how to prevent counter-attacks in my tactic.
I'm doing it right now. I'm checking it out here. So that's essentially what you're saying. So the target man would drop in, the wings would get up.
Yeah, exactly that.
Central midfielder would get up, ball winners here, or maybe he just stays here. and the wing backs get up. And so you would assess how the team is going to strike against you when you are in this attacking position.
Exactly that. And even possibly then in your tactic that you're showing now, even possible the right wing back could be an inverted wing back. So once you're in possession, he'll be inside and you've kind of covered that central area. But then of course, your right flank, it all depends. It all depends. But I would be certainly looking at that right wing back to see what he can do, if he could be a little bit more narrow to not leave that gap behind the attacking midfielder. That would be now the attacking midfielder, of course.
This is incredibly cool to help visualize for people, especially that have not been creating tactics for a while or have not put a lot of thought into it. Wow, Anderson is getting a lot worse. That is whatever. I'll deal with that emotionally at another time to help people conceptualize where your players actually end up when a tactic is being played and then when you're trying to recover defensively, because they're not always just standing in the spot that you have them in.
Yeah, so a lot of us when we're building tactics, I used to do it a lot as well. I just think about what we're going to do when we have the ball. I don't really think about what we're going to do or what happens when we lose the ball. Whenever I used to make tactics, the focus was always, how am I going to get players further forward? How am I going to create goals? It was never, okay, if I put the cross in and they head it out and they go on the counter attack, where are my players positioned? I never used to think about that until I started looking. It started losing a lot of games, and then I started finding out why.
Like, wait a second. Defense. Yeah. It's a good way to see that. I mean, we have the animator Tom who's helping us visualize in this video, but most people don't have the luxury of having all of the stuff we're talking about animated while we're talking about it. But this is that. I mean, honestly, it's an incredibly cool trick.
And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to have like someone on defend. It doesn't necessarily mean that. So like for your tactic, your right wing back or your right back doesn't have to have a defensive duty. If he was inverted wing back on support or attack, it could still help because he will be positioned in that sort of area when you lose the ball, especially when you're using counter press as well. So when you lose the ball, he's ready to put pressure on that player. Whereas if everyone else is counter pressing, you've kind of got like a gap and it just can be exposed. It can be.
No, well, Nolan's alone, but that's why Nolan's got all this teamwork right here. You know, he takes one. Right there. Yeah, he does his job.
Pretty decent.
Yeah, he's not bad, right?
There.
19 and signed
smokes.
for free, but the consistency hurts. Again, not the point. And what I would recommend just to top this off, so that you can have 3 tactics that you're training, maybe when you design the tactic at first, you be sure to save it, which you can drop down and save, and then tweak it. And then you can save it as like attacking positions, defensive positions to help you visualize, but you can have that in all 3 spots. And then when you want to load up something else, you can just click load and it'll be dwarfing it up, attacking, dwarfing it up, defending, and you can see it for yourself where those guys end up. That may be the coolest thing you heard today. Until number 5, which is bookending with the other most obvious one that we come up with as absolutely never in a million years do this. Say it together. Don't go defensive. We're professionals. Don't try this at home, kids. Don't try it at home. Okay, don't go defensive.
Yeah.
I have not had one good life experience on defensive. Have you?
No, and just no.
Don't do it.
I've embarrassed myself on streams before doing it as well, attempting it. It's like, oh, look at me, I'm a proper Jose Mourinho guy. Let me go defensive and boom, concede.
Jose Mourinho lives in cautious. That's where I think Jose Mourinho lives, is cautious.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But defensive and then very defensive. I have never touched these and live to tell about it, to be perfectly honest. You just don't do it. But if you zoom in between those two, there's a subscribe button. It's below the video you're watching right now, and we'd really appreciate if you hit it. But that's just between the defensive and very defensive. You don't want to actually click either of those. And while you're down there, check out RDF Tactics and all his great stuff. He does a lot of great stuff for the streams, the YouTube videos. Be sure to hit all of that and not hit defensive while you're in that very little narrow area with the subscribe button and RDF. Right? No, don't hit it. Don't hit it. I feel like we've helped some people today, RDF.
Yes.
And that's why we do what we do, to save people from that experience that both of us had, which was getting our ass handed to us on a silver platter for the first 6 months we played this game.
Exactly that. But never use defensive. Never. it's just never. There's never a good time to use defensive mentality, in my honest opinion.
And in mine as well. We'll be back soon. We are going to do the similar list like this, except 5 things that you absolutely must have in every tactic. RDF, I will see you then. Keep it easy, breezy, and beautiful, my friend.
I'll see you. And you too. And you too.
Are we done? Bye.